this next step could be a little bit more challenging or it might be easier for you. And I think that just depends on the person. But assuming that you know when and how long you need to sleep and you're able to find the maximum amount of energy that your body can sort of store up for a day, then the next thing you need to do is figure out when you are sort of mentally most productive. And going back to my own example, after I figured out when I wanted to sleep, I started looking into, well, when do I feel like I can really crank out useful work? When am I able to get into flow? When can I do my best, most productive work during the day? What I found was that there were 3 windows of time that just work really well for me. 10 a.m. to noon, and then I like to take a break for lunch. And then something like 3 p.m. to 5 p.m., I can be very productive. And then if I need to, again, like 7 to 9 or 8 to 10 p.m., like in the late evening, I can be really productive. And this was just through trial and error. I would just kind of notice that if I was sitting at my computer at 8 o'clock in the morning, I would be goofing off on the internet, just kind of staring down at my desk and not doing anything useful. If I tried to work past noon, I would experience the same thing where I'd start thinking about lunch and my mind would start wandering and I would be kind of forcing myself to sit there and grind out work that often turned out to not be very good work. If I tried to work before 3, so I got back to work at 2, then I would find that like I had a really hard time kind of overcoming that lunchtime slump that most people experience to get into a flow or to do meaningful work. But once 3 o'clock hit, I felt great. And if I tried to work after 5, I would get distracted because I'd be thinking about, the day is going to end soon. Don't I need to get to the gym? And other things would be on my mind. And then I noticed that as long as I had dinner and I had gotten a workout into the gym and I had, done something to kind of turn my mind off for a little bit after that 3 to 5 window, that I could turn back on and do really productive work from like 7 to 9 p.m. or 8 to 10 p.m. And that was just for me. So I found through trial and error that I was very comfortable working 10 a.m. to noon. I could easily just sit down, no trouble at all, get into work, answer emails, write code, write a blog post, write an article, create a concept, storyboard, something. I could get a lot of work done from 10 a.m. to noon with very little effort. Whereas if I tried to start earlier or end later in that window, it would be really challenging to continue working. Same thing was true for 3 to 5 p.m. And then if I needed to, 7 to 9 or 8 to 10. And yes, I could work. If I wanted to work straight through from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., I could do that. But I would find that it was really hard to continue doing good work. And I think the important thing when you're trying to be self-motivated, when you're self-directed, when you don't have a boss, when you don't have to be in a chair at your desk, is to think, when can I do the most productive work to get the most things done in the least amount of time? And that will free you up to do other things in your life that are important so that next time you sit down to work, you'll also do productive work. So that was the next step. After I made sure I had enough sleep and I was rested, I thought about when I felt most productive and when it was easiest for me to work. And it turns out there's 4 to 6 hours a day when I can do really good work with almost no effort and I don't have to force myself to sit down or force myself to focus. So that's what I focused on. So that's the next thing you might do, is think about when you're most productive. You might already have a sense of this as I'm talking. You're thinking, well, I'm actually usually really productive like midnight to 2 a.m., which is true for my dad, by the way. He's a writer. He frequently doesn't even start writing until after midnight. He'll be up super late writing or editing or whatever he's doing. Some people are just wired that way. I'm not, but you might be. And if you are, it's important to recognize that so that you can actually lean into that and use that to your advantage. It's important to know when your body wants to work, when your mind wants to work, so that you can just lean into that. There's no reason to fight against it or grind against it or force yourself to work when you don't feel like working. Instead, think about when your mind and body want to work and lean into those times, and then organize your sleep schedule and your life schedule so that you can free up those times to be productive times for you.